If you ever been accused of being extreme, I don't mean like an extremist, but I guess I don't limit it to being an extremist. Clearly, I'm not an extremist. I'm not into politics or any ideologies in any way like that. But in my way, I have a way of being more extreme in some of my basic behaviors. And sometimes it causes misunderstandings. People have all kinds of ideas about other people, and a lot of people live in fear or unease. They live in fear, they live in unease. Some of them dwell in the haunted memories of someone from their past who maybe did them wrong. Maybe they aggressed upon them in some sort of way. And they're always flinching as they go through life, expecting this horrible thing to suddenly occur again to them when there may be no basis in that being the truth or the facts. It's important that everybody work on their people skills because you want to know when you're the problem. You know, if you're going to be unaware of how people respond to you, you're not going to notice, you're not going to be able to pay attention to the little nuanced things that you can do to make a better situation from a bad one. You owe it to yourself to be able to do that. You owe it to yourself to know those clues, to be able to pick up those behavioral clicks that people do to navigate the world's interpersonal relationship shit. That's, the name of the game here. It's the name of the game here. I come from a law of one perspective. I probably stumbled onto the law of one about 2015, 2014, probably 2014. And it changed my life. It was such a wonderful perspective on what's going on here in this world. So I imagine that we're at third density. That means we come through the densities like we have the chakras. The first chakra or density that you encounter, the root chakra, is base consciousness, just being conscious. And it is said that you can spend billions of years learning the interaction of fire and wind upon earth and water so that life can be supported. Life requires a balance of these esoteric elements, but they're not material. They're not. These terms, air, fire, water, earth, and spirit, they're not literal always, but they can be. They're not limited to being literal. It doesn't mean it has to be a chunk of dirt in your hand for earth. It could be something solid. So the first density is basically just conscious waking up, and it can be billions of years. And then the second density is consciousness, where you have consciousness within your own self. Like, you know that you are your internal dialogue, your moods, the different states that you can be in, and that corresponds with mostly plants. Plants are conscious, although their consciousness doesn't seem to interface as easy with our consciousness from, our use of language, speech. We move about the earth pretty fast. Plants are rooted in, and even some animals. In fact, animals corresponds with the higher end of second density. When you come into third density, the third chakra, which is for your self-awareness within a group of others. So it's like, we have this going on now. We're in the third density, and I know myself. I recognize my individuality and self like that as my name. My name's Kelly. I'm Kelly, but I'm not fully educated in the law of one to know that I am everything too, that I'm just a representation of consciousness manifesting as that. And in the third density, you do make the choice, and you choose to either serve yourself and continue this. If you serve yourself, you're going to be dominating other selves, and you're not going to be taking the path of the heart, the straight through path. The heart will be the next chakra. This is what we're endeavoring to get to, fourth density. The other polarity is service to other self, where you live as a community. You focus most of your energy on providing some sort of service to those around you and the greater world around you. You're not enslaving it to serve you and your whims. It tend to have a more feeling quality, a more understanding of what other selves are, what they bring to the table. Thus, the interaction between that is greatly different. So if we get to fourth density, and we become like a social memory complex, all the people of that same like mind that are all service to other selves will merge into a consciousness that is where all of the memories that you have will be shareable, and you'll have access to all the experiences of other individuals in their individual state as they were. The memories and experiences that they had, you'll have to draw upon as if they were just as the same as your own. There will be no difference. You'll be able to know the thoughts of the geniuses and understand them. You'll be able to know the what it felt like to be an artist and to create works of art. It's a greatly different experience. And that's not the path that the service to self goes, because they bypass the heart experience and do something else. They reject that. They reject that feeling of par or equality with other selves for a sense, albeit false, of superiority within their individuality. It gives rise to narcissism, people that think they're the only thing that matters. Things like that don't really jive with someone on the spiritual path that's doing it for enlightenment and doing it for a greater good. We associate service to self with evil, and we associate service to other self with as good as one can possibly be. So at some point in time, you should consciously make the choice and make all of your moves and your awareness keen to focus in on, am I doing a service to the other persons around me, or am I being selfish and not considering what would be a great aid in their evolution in their life? Because when you do that, you become aware, and your awareness will affect them in such a way as that they can grow, and they'll want to grow in the direction, usually but not always. They'll take that influence as something that's good, and they'll want to work with it, and they'll want to follow that example. Like when you're aware of somebody not acting right and they're feeling down, your awareness of it shows a light, and people notice that the person that's feeling down uh, may be troubled and may not want to get into their own personal shit, but showing the care and the compassion to notice it is a great leap that people that are just serving their own self, they don't take that time, and they don't give that consideration any real value. But you have to give other people's perspectives and experiences and feelings in the moment a value, so that we can make this transition, because it's not a transition for each individual to make. It is work each individual has to do, but the transition into fourth density is a transition for the group to go. And if we make it off of this earth and we graduate, then we'll be in a situation with the like minded and like spirited souls in another incarnation in the fourth density, which would be kind of like a paradise at the beginning. At the beginning, it takes in all, but as it approaches the fifth density, it really does begin to focus more on wisdom and knowing how to properly deal with the evil in the world that sometimes just we just can't understand, because it seems so far removed from any humanity that we understand.